So I think we're still in our 13th chapter. Is that correct, Mark?
No, we're starting chapter 14, number 1.
Chapter 14, new chapter. All right. Will you help us out, please, Ganesh? Oh, sound, will you push the little white thing so it doesn't? Yeah.
Ityakarnya Munivacho Vicharya Shubhayadhya Jagat Swapna Samam Nyatva Shokam Jahodrutam. Thus, having heard the words of the sage, investigating with a pure intellect, and knowing the state of the world is similar to that of a dream, he gave up his sorrow quickly.
Yes. So we've ended the section where we have taken a look at the waking state and the dream state, going back and forth. We know that the dream state is just imagination because it's negated by the waking state. So through our insight, at least through the study of this 13th chapter, we have the possibility in our minds. The waking state reality is just as much an illusion, mithya, a reflection in a mirror, pratibimba, as the dream state. Going on.
Dhairyamalamya nishoko bhuyo prichanmune sutam muniputra mahabudhe tvam paravara darshanaha. Taking courage and free from sorrow, he asked the son of the sage again, "Why, son of the sage, you are one having the perception of the all-including knowledge."
I didn't quite hear that last. Read it again, please.
Taking courage and free from sorrow, he asked the son of the sage again, "Wise son of the sage, you are one having the perception of the all-including knowledge."
Oh, so he wants to know, how come you have this deep insight and other people don't? So again, we're still back in the story of Mahasena and the Muniputra, the son of the sage who had the whole world inside the mountain. All right, let's see what happens. Next one.
Natepya viditam kinchit manye syat iti leshatah pritchami yadaham tanme kripaya vaktumarhasi. I consider that there is nothing which can be unknown to you, even to a small extent. You can tell me out of compassion that which I ask you.
Yes, so he is surrendering now to the Muniputra and asked to have his doubts resolved. Going on.
Bhavana prabhavam hetat sarvam vadasi tat katham maya bhuyo bhavitam cha nabahi sarvatha bhavet. You can say that all this is indeed born of imagination. How is that? What is imagined by me very much cannot exist outside entirely.
So the doubt he has is this: I can close my eyes and visualize something. I can even have the imaginations that are in the dream state, but they're all inside my head. Whatever I'm imagining, Soundarya is not privy to, Michael is not privy to, Ganesh is not privy to. How can it be the same? Because we have what appears to be an external shared reality. You understand the doubt? I think you actually had it. All right, let's see if there's an answer. Going on.
त्वया तु भावना सिद्ध्या शैले लोक प्रकल्पितः अथापि देशकालश्च युगपद् द्विविधः कथम्. But a world was formed by you within the mountain by the fulfillment of your imagination. Even then, how are place and time of two kinds simultaneously?
So you, Muniputra, son of a sage, you created this whole world inside the mountain, but I saw it. How did that happen? How is it that your sankalpa affected me, another person? Do my sankalpas affect other people in this waking state world, or do their sankalpas affect me? What's really going on? Let's see what the answer is. Going on.
Tatra satyam anyatarat katamam tanmameraya iti prishto munisutaha pravaktum upachakrame. There, one of the two is unreal. Which of the many is it? Thus asked, the son of the sage began to speak. Note, which one of the many worlds, such as those in waking, dreaming, fancy, etc., does one of the two worlds considered as unreal correspond to? This is the import of the question.
So I would like to draw your attention, if you've seen the movie Inception, where there were dreams, and the dreams were so real, and the characters would move from dream to dream to dream. They were trying to get out of the dream. And the assumption in the movie is we've got to get back to reality, that there's a waking state reality that's real. So of these various worlds that we perceive, which is real, I think our modern day example of this, I come in contact with people who are going on ayahuasca trips. They get together and they chant, and then they do the ayahuasca, and then they come back and they tell me, oh, I've solved all my problems with my mother. It all became very clear to me on ayahuasca. Is that real? For many people, they'll take ecstasy. They're there on the dance floor. Oh, I won with everything. I won. I love everything. Is that world real? Come down. Is this world real? Which of the worlds is real? Let's see what the answer is.
Sankalpo bhavana prokta siddha siddheti sadvidha siddhir vikalpa sambhedo vikalpastveka nishtite. It is sankalpa, resolve, or the synthesizing activity of thought, that is said to be bhavana, creative contemplation, or the powerful employment of imagination here. It is of two kinds.
Go ahead.
It is of two kinds, accomplished and unaccomplished. The accomplished is the one having no mixture of vikalpa, ideation, or dichotomizing thought construct. Non-ideation, or absence of thought constructs, is obtained from being fixed on or devoted to one idea. Note, bhavana, or imagination to be accomplished, should be of the nature of sankalpa as defined. Tripura Rahasya forms part of Agama literature whose basic doctrines are similar to the non-dualistic Shaiva philosophy of the Kashmir school. The definitions in this work and its philosophy closely follow those of Kashmir Shaivism.
All right, so you have heard me talk about what I call the law of Sankalpa. Here is where the scripture frames it. Bhavana here means like a feeling or an attitude. And he says that it isn't dichotomous. So the way I frame it, any sankalpa that isn't conflicted or contradicted, that's consistently maintained, tends towards grossification. I can't remember if it was in this class where we talked about the importance of a life of integrity. It's satyam, authenticity, integrity. Don't lie. Don't say you're going to show up at 4 o'clock and not do it. What does this do? It blows off the energy of your sankalpa. Become a woman or a man of your word. Now, it's not only right here in this scripture. My friend Kali Om, she riffed on it. It's actually in the Yoga Sutras. It's in 2.36, talking about satyam. That if the yogi practices satyam, all their intentions manifest. Same idea. What is the difference between the Vedanta schools and the Tantrika schools? Actually, the defining difference is the Vedanta schools have the Vedas as their authority. The Tantrika schools have the Tantras as their authority. That's basically the difference. Tantras are another body of literature. But in practice, things like what's referenced here, the non-dual Kashmiri Shaiva tradition. The way I frame it is this. Some jnanis just stand back and watch the movie. Don't get involved. It's all like a dream. Others, the Tantrikas, also knowing it's a dream, also understand that it doesn't have to be a nightmare. And we have a limited ability to do some dream shading. Probably the largest extant school of this is Tibetan Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism is a tantric form. Many of you have done vipassana meditations. At the end, they do what they call the metta meditation. If I remember it right, may all beings be happy, may all beings be peaceful, may all beings be liberated. Isn't that it? Someone help me out here. Yes?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. That's a sankalpa. So what do? They wait till the end of the retreat till everybody's mind is really quiet, because the quiet mind is the most powerful mind. And then all the people on the retreat have this very clear intention to make a difference in the world. I've given many of you as a healing practice, Tonglen, spelled Tonglen. If you look up Pema Chodron on the web, she's got a beautiful description of Tonglen. Basically, you breathe in the suffering of the person you're working for, and you breathe out the antidote, healing or peace or whatever it is. Keep doing that. You can do it for yourself. You can do it for another person. You can do it for the world. This is Tantra. The wielding of the thunderbolt, the Vajra, the little double-ended dorje that they use. That's what all this is. That's what it all is. Now, a yogi needs to know that their mind is not superfluous. We initially deal with changing our relationship to our mind. I am not my thoughts. But then, if you're a person in the world, let's say you're a salesperson, and you want to accomplish a goal, that's an intention. Have a clear, uncontradicted, undoubted intention. And when dichotomous thoughts arise, banish them. One that popped into my head of all things was the Wright brothers. All the physicists of the edge said that powered heavier than air flight was impossible. Greatest physicists of the age built this machine. It was supposed to fly over the Potomac. It sank in the Potomac. Proof. But the Wright brothers had a sankalpa. I think we can do this. That doesn't mean it's magic. Clear intention. They worked at it, worked at it, worked at it. Power time. So the point is, as Krishna says in Gita, this work makes you master of this world and the beyond. So the yogi starts to pay attention to the content of their mind as well. Any thoughts or questions about this? All right, next verse.
Brahma bhavanaya pashya jatam jagadidam nano etat sarvai satya rupam bhavitam sudridatpatah. Perceive this world as indeed born by the creative contemplation of Brahma, the creator. This has been imagined by all as having a real nature on account of its great firmness, perceived by the individual soul due to the practice extending over many incarnations.
So, who's doing the dreaming of what we perceive as an exterior or external reality? God. What's the difference between your nighttime dream and the daytime? The one doing the dreaming. You are the God of your dream. God is dreaming all of this. And in the dream that Brahman has, all the people and the beings firmly believe that it's real. Just like you in your nighttime dream think That is real. But can get out of it. There is a way to cross over Maya. Part of what we need to do is understand. And through deep meditation experience, that the world is not solid. It's not out there. It's in consciousness. We as individuals have a limited ability to reenact the creative process. So Michael, another riffing on Hebrew scripture. Hebrew scripture says that we are made in the image and likeness of God. Foolish people think that means God has 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, and probably a white beard. No. Just as Brahman is pure consciousness, and out of itself, by virtue of sankalpa, manifests the entire world. So each of us is pure consciousness and individually manifests our experience of the world according to our deeply rooted sankalpa. True story. A few weeks ago, I'm talking with a young man and he's vaccine resistant. Well, you can't trust Fauci. You know, he owns stock in Pfizer. And all the pharma companies are on the boards of all the media companies and stuff like that. And they're all out to scam you. It's all about the money. And you can't trust it. I don't know who to believe. Blah, 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 blah. And I just said, stop. I said, I don't live in your world. Just like the Moniputra has a world inside the mountain. In my world, God's in charge. In my world, it's all going to work out. I live in a beneficent world that conspires for my well-being if I let it. I live in a world filled with love. You can come be in my world if you wish. You can stay in yours. Knock yourself out. We create our experience of the phenomenal world to a large degree, thought by thought, attitude. Any thoughts on this? So, you're doing your yoga, you meditate for 20 minutes, you read a little bit of scripture. But then you get together with a friend and spend all your time trashing somebody. They're so terrible. How could I have it? Those are sankalpas. Or you spend the whole morning going back over my terrible father, what he did to me. My mother didn't protect me. They've been true. That's not happening now. Are you going to let that sankalpa run your life? All right, next verse.
तथा ससंकल्प भवे नास्ति कस्यापि भावना विकल्प संभेद एषः सिद्ध तस्मात् विभावना. So, in the world born of your imagination, there is no conception of reality for anybody, including yourself. This is the mixture with a differing idea that such an imagined world is not true. Therefore, your imagination is not accomplished.
Yes. In other words, we use the law of sankalpa to disempower the law of sankalpa. If you believe your mind has no power, then your mind has no power. If you firmly believe the world is exterior to me and I'm a victim of circumstances, you are literally using the law to disempower the law. Do you see that? That's the Lord's safety mechanism, by the way. We don't want a lot of people running around really wreaking havoc. People in ignorance don't know their minds are capable of sankalpa. Thank God. Now, how is it that a man like Donald Trump is able to take an idea and get millions of people to believe it? He somewhere, maybe in another life, maybe in this life, has understood a lot of this law. Don't believe your lying senses, believe what I tell you. And he's able to spin this sankalpa. He's got a powerful mind. A powerful mind. Don't particularly think he's using it for the highest good. But it also demonstrates something. Having the capacity to manifest stuff is no indicator of self-realization. It's like working out with weights. It's just a function of mental discipline. Any thoughts, any questions? Next verse.
भावनायाः सिद्धिः अत्र बहुधा संस्थिता भवेत् Janmana Manina Tad Vadaushadhena cha yogata tapasa mantrasiddhyaya cha parena cha bhavendrapa. King, here the accomplishment of imagination can happen in many ways. Through birth, mystic gems, herbs, yoga, spiritual disciplines, perfection in incantations, and also by the blessing of God or sages.
So you bring this tapas perhaps from other lives. Remember in 6th chapter of Gita, Krishna says you can take your money with you, you can't take your property with you, but you bring your yoga with you from lifetime to lifetime. Now, what we call things like herbs or gems or mantras, psychologically, we call these, or philosophically, a fetish. It's not talking about sexual kind of fetish. We don't mean that. It is a way in which people focus belief. So, for example, if you go to Lourdes in France, everybody believes that the waters of the spring will heal. Because of the visitation of the Blessed Virgin Mary. It's funny, I've yet to meet a Hindu who's had a vision of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Nor have I met a Christian who's seen Shiva rise out of a mountain. So what we use to believe, to foster belief, is only an aid to that focus. That's all it is. That doesn't mean not to use it. So if it helps your belief that, oh, someone's sick, I'm going to chant Triambakam for them. Do it. Do it. Antithetically, if you think praying to the Blessed Virgin Mary and do Hail Marys and Our Fathers will do it, knock yourself out. Whatever works to help focus intention. Some people, they do magic and they make pentagrams and they have candles and things like that. All these things are just ways to focus belief. I'm particularly fond of the schools of spiritual healing where you dispense with all that, you just do it all within your own mind. That's the way I was taught before I met Swamiji. But that doesn't mean the other methodologies are not valid and useful. Going on, next verse.
Janmana Brahmana Savai Manina Yaksharakshasam Aushadhena tu Devanam Yoginam Yogato Bhavet Tapasa Tapasanam Sa Mantrikanam tu Mantratah Vishwakarma Mukhanam Cha Varapraptya hi Sa Bhavat. It happened to Brahma, the creator through birth, to demigods and demons through mystic gems, through herbs to celestial beings, through yoga to yogins, through spiritual disciplines or austerity to ascetics, through incantations to those conversant with mystic formulae, and through the acquisition of blessings to Vishwakarman, or the architect of the celestial gods.
Yes. So he's talking about different ways in which sankalpa becomes efficacious. If you open a store and you set up a murti of Lakshmi, and you have the pujari come to do a puja to propitiate the goddess Lakshmi, is there really a goddess out there who's sitting around in Swarga heaven going, oh man, I really need a mantra or two today, you know? Otherwise, you know, I'm just not going to make it through the day. No. Oh. So-and-so opened a shop and they didn't do a puja. I'm offended. Fire and flood. There's no such God. But if you believe in the power of puja, and the pujari believes in the power of puja, and this mantra has collected sankalpa, energy for 1,000 years or more, because people have chanted it, then the sankalpa works. If you're a Roman Catholic, Catholicism, they have all these saints who are kind of like the department heads. My child is sick, I'm going to pray to Saint Jude. Is there a Saint Jude who's going to answer your prayer? Is he better at it than Saint Anthony or Saint Christopher? All about what you believe. Now, the Master Jesus said this over and over again. People would come to him for healing, and his response frequently was, your faith has made you whole. It wasn't so much what he was doing, it was their faith in him that allowed it to happen. Next verse.
Sankalpitam tatha bhavyam purva vismarane sati sthiram tavad bhavatyeva yavat purvam nahi smaret. What is firmly what is resolved or firmly imagined should be so contemplated that when there is a complete non-recognition of earlier thoughts, even the thought I have resolved in this manner, it can become firm. It surely becomes firm so long as one cannot indeed remember the former thought.
Yes. So what he's talking about is when you do a sankalpa, you must turn away from your sensory experiences. The way I like to frame it is this: your senses do not report reality. Your senses report yesterday's belief system. So practically speaking, tell you a true story. So I have a friend who calls me up from Wisconsin. His mother's heart's not working. He says, will you work for my mother? I say, yes, of course I will. Always say yes. Now, I'm not going to send energy to her. I'm not going to go, you're better, you're better, you're better. No. Quietly in my own meditation, I remind myself what appears as this woman is nothing but vibration held together by thought. There's no such thing as a physical body. All this craziness about what might cause a heart condition or anything like that, none of that concerns me. None of it concerns me. What's the truth? I see this woman's heart as whole and perfect. I tend to think of the body as oftentimes a metaphor. The heart is the center for love. She's full of love. She's full of light. All is well. She's at peace. You do it as an already accomplished fact, disregarding the past, no concern about the future. It's like planting a seed. You don't have to tell the seed how to grow. Just plant the sankalpa, universal consciousness. The law, Mother Shakti knows how to make it come about. That's just an example of what this verse is meaning. Don't work in process. Aunt Mary is getting better every day. Already accomplished fact. Here is nothing but God. It's just vibration. There's no such thing as a physical. And you let it go. So we have Michael right in front of me here. So you do marketing and branding, is that right? Yeah. Okay. So you're going to go meet a client. You can set a sankalpa in place. I'm here to serve this client. Divine intelligence reveals to me exactly what this client needs to know. I'm divinely guided. I'm inspired to create just what these people need. I'm a hand of the divine ready to serve. Oh, isn't that a different way to approach business? Making sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the use of this law of sankalpa. Because you're going to go in there with an intention to want to create a program for them, do well, sell them on it, make money for the company anyway. Isn't that what your job is? Mm-hmm. Might as well use all your tools. And then you always let go. As Jesus said, nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done.
It's almost a divine intention, not a personal intention.
Yes, yes, yes. Say that louder so the people in Zoom land can hear.
Sankalpa is a divine intention, not a personal intention.
Yes. So your sankalpa should never manipulate or coerce another person. Understand, whatever you put out in the world of sankalpa will come back to you. That's just karma. So if you put out manipulation, you keep yourself open to be manipulated. If you're pissed at someone at work, you go, I hope they get warts and get, feel terrible. Don't be surprised if you get sick. So always love and intend as God would. If you were Krishna himself, how would you treat me? Rely on the law of love. Always the best God. Next verse.
एवमेव निर्विकल्प भावना यदि सुस्थिरा अनिच्छया विकल्पस्य यावत् संभेदनं नहि तावत् सा भावना सिद्धा साध्ये द्वै महाफलम्. Even so, if the contemplation without ideation or thought constructs becomes very firm, as long as there is indeed no mixing of differing thought constructs due to absence of desire, so long that contemplation is accomplished, and it can indeed bring about great reward.
Yes. So, the most powerful intention is one that's devoid of desire. By here we mean, I'll be happy when, it'll be better if, I want to get my needs met. Sankalpa will work to a degree, but riffing on what Sound was saying, be an instrument for the infinite. What is God's hand in the world through you? How can you be a blessing? Everything that you do. Then marvelous things start to happen. You may be sitting in the morning drinking coffee and you just think of someone, then the phone rings and they call. Did you think of them or did they think of you? Doesn't matter. It was thunk at the same time. Or more frequently, sometimes you're hanging out and someone comes to mind and you call them up and they say, oh, I'm so glad you called. How did you know? I've just been a mess this morning. So someone was telling me that their girlfriend's mother is transitioning. Now, here's an interesting point. I had a guy talking to me about, I was reading this stuff about Kriya Yoga, and these yogis live 400 years because of Sankalpa. I said, really? What happens at year 401? They're dead. The Lord has a Sankalpa that's more powerful than anyone you or I could have. Nobody gets out alive. All bodies are temporary. So transition happens. So I suggested to this person, if he could, and he doesn't have to be present. Anything about Sankalpa, you don't need to physically be there. Just hold that sacred space. So there's luminosity in that transition. What are we talking? Oh no, don't leave us. We love you. Oh, all that does is hold on to people. So much of this work energetically is so opposite to what we get in the world. Now, my friend David gave me a wonderful image about doing sankalpa work. Some things are karmas that are like written in sand. Just do a sankalpa and it's like wiping them away. Others are like carved in wood. We have to do quite a bit of work sanding that down. Keep on the intention. Others are engraved in stone. And perhaps the best we can do is acceptance. Keep doing the work. Sometimes we just have to accept. Someone is sick, sankalpa for perfect healing, and they die anyway. That's good. Never forgetting we have a limited use of the law of sankalpa. Ishvara. No one can overcome the Lord's sankalpa. I don't care how much tapas you do, light will not travel faster than 186,000 miles per second. No matter how many mantras you do, you won't bump it up to 187. That's the Lord's sankalpa. But we have a lot more freedom than we think. All right, next verse.
Sambhodhatu vikalpena na siddha tava bhavana bhavanam sadhaya kshipram yadistrashtum samihasi. But on account of mixture with thought constructs, your imagination is not accomplished. Accomplish your imagination immediately by freeing it from dichotomizing thought constructs, resulting in firm contemplation if you want to create.
Yes. So, why is it that my mind seems flabby and wimpy and my sankalpa does not manifest? Because I disempower my mind. Because my sankalpa is not consistent and it's contradicted and conflicted. Do a sankalpa, and then if your next thought is, I wonder if it's going to work. See what I mean? The next you think, I don't think this is all superstition. Any sankalpa consistently maintained that isn't conflicted or contradicted tends towards grossification. I use that word very deliberately. I don't want to use the word manifestation. It's grossification, meaning it moves from the subtle level of imagination into what appears as a material reality. Next verse.
Shrunirajan deshakala dvaividhyam vadato mama अभ्युत्पन्नोऽसि लोकस्य व्यवहारे ततस्तव एतच्चित्रं भासते वै शृणु सम्यग् ब्रवीमि ते जगद् भावस्वभावोऽयं विविधत्वेन भासनम्. King, listen to me speaking about the twofold nature of space and time. You are not proficient in the affair of the world. Therefore, this appears strange to you. I shall tell you the truth. Hear properly. This appearance with manifoldness is the innate disposition of the state of the world.
Yes. So the appearance of the manifold world, that is Brahman's sankalpa. This is its innate state. Whatever is nature's, forms come, forms go, they always change. And the consciousness that illumines them is Theta. Going on.
एक एव हि सूर्यस्य प्रकाशो विविध स्थितः दिवान्धानामन्धकार इतरेषां तु भासकः. The one light of the sun alone is indeed existing in two kinds. It is darkness for those who are blind by day, such as the owl, but it is illuminating for others.
So our experience of things differs. Owls really don't see darkness during the daytime. That's just not what happens. But the point is this. My favorite example is mummy versus mother-in-law. This is such a classic story. They write plays about it for thousands of years. Hubby thinks, oh, my mother. Wife thinks, oh, demoness. What's the truth? It's how we see. It's what we see. Based on our belief system. So the yogi always understands that what they see is nothing but a belief system. The yogi learns not to take their view of the world seriously. We confuse certainty for truth. I jokingly tell people I'm not always right, but I'm always certain. I think it's the truth. Next verse.
Jalam manushya pashvadeh shwasasya pratirodhakam matsyadinam bahi shwasa pratirodho jale nahi. For men, animals, and the like, water is obstructing for breathing. For fish and the like, obstruction to breathing happens outside, but not within water.
So we breathe air, we drown in water. For fish, they breathe water, they drown in the air. Each of us has a different experience of going on.
Agner dahati martyadi. Agner dahati martya. Deemstam bhakshyati tiptiraha. Vakhnir nashyati to yena sajale jvalati kvachit. Fire burns men and others. The tittiri bird, a kind of partridge, eats it. Fire is destroyed by water. Somewhere it burns in water, such as the submarine fire.
Yes. So again, he's riffing on this idea that different beings have different experiences of this world. When he talks about submarine fire, there's a temple in the foothills of the Himalayas. Maybe some of you have been there, called Jwalamukhi. Anybody out there in Zoom land ever been there? It's ancient temple. It's actually referenced in the early chapter of Yoga Vasishta. The building itself has fallen down because it's a tectonic area, but what it is, it's a pool, and underneath it, there's tectonic activity and methane comes up through the pool. So they light the methane. So you literally see the water burning. How can water burn? Water's supposed to put fire out. Miracles. This whole section simply is about one person's truth with a small t is not the truth of another person, because all I can see is my belief system. When I've removed my belief system, guess what I see? Nothing. Ramana Maharshi's great example. The self is like the lamp in the movie projector. Our mind is like the film. The world that I see is like the image on the screen. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all my beliefs and see the world as it is. So I scrape the film so there's nothing on it. Guess what I see on the screen? It's light. Next verse.
Evam sarve jagatastu bhava vairupyata sthitaha evam sendriya vrittantaha panye kepi nirindriyaha. Thus, all objects of the world are existing with twofold formation, which are opposed in nature. Thus, some events or states are with or accompanied by sense perception, and some others are without or out of sense perception.
So everything in this world, whether it be good or bad, light or dark, helpful or harmful, all of it has to do with the attitudes we bring to it. Next verse.
Swabhavato viruddha vai shatashotha sahasrashah atropapattim vakshyami samahitamana shrunu. Objects mutually opposed due to innate disposition occur in hundreds and thousands. In this matter, I shall tell you the reasoning, here with a concentrated mind.
So the fact is, because each of us is contributing to the manifest world through our sankalpas, largely unconscious, we get conflicted sankalpa all over the place. Listen very carefully. Most of the ills of humanity are of our own making. I think it should be this way. Someone else thinks it should be that way. And we firmly believe that truth with a small t. So let's fight. Then we're violent to ourselves and one another. Make ourselves and other people sick. One simple thing, just in the empirical world, there are like at least 4 places in the world that can produce enough food to feed the entire world. There's the Ukraine, the breadbasket of the Ukraine. There's the rice of Southeast Asia. There's the plains of the American Midwest. I could go on. Any one of these places can make enough food to feed everybody in the world. There is no lack of food. Yet people starve. They do not starve because of a lack of food. They starve because of people in conflict. So most of the ills are of our own making. And how do we change it? Remove the violence in my own heart first. All right, next verse and then we'll quit.
एते चाक्षुषा भावाः चक्षुर्विकृतिमात्रकाः न चाक्षुषा दंशतो अन्यद् दृश्यम् अस्ति क्वचित् बहिः. These visual objects are surely mere transformations of the faculty of sight. There is no object outside anywhere other than what depends on sight to be visible even in part.
All right, this is too much to wrap up in a minute. What number is this one?
Chapter 14, verse 24.
Okay, so we'll repeat this and do verse 24 again next week. Let's quit here. Om Purnamata Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om. Thank you all.